Good evening, YouTube, YTPC. How are you all doing? You may notice I'm in a different shed. This is the shed of Shangri-La. My wife owns this shed, as it were, in the Swiss mountains in the canton of Valais in southern Switzerland at about 1,000-meter elevation. Here's a clip I made from outside because it started snowing. So it's the 30th of November and it has started to snow here in southern Switzerland. About 1,000-meter elevation, and it was just giving flurries up to this point. But here outside the shed of Shangri-La, which I've tried to do a little bit of decoration for, it's getting very Christmassy outside the shed of Shangri-La here. And here's the shed of Shangri-La from outside with a few Christmas decorations, but we've still got some work to do. But we just kind of started, you know. Well, this is a kind of first part to the second Advent. Well, that's on the 5th of December, isn't it? So, but I'm just trying to warm up my knowledge of Sutliff Christmas Spice, which is a bulk tobacco. And last year I went on, you know, smokingpipes.com and a few other sites and just put in Christmas tobacco, you know, and tried to find ones that I hadn't tried before. And particularly I was interested in you know, these easily available bulk tobaccos, because some people commented, well, those German Christmas tobaccos you're looking at the moment, you know, very hard for us to get. I much appreciate that that point, and I've decided to do 2 of the Advent tobaccos will be easily available American Christmas tobaccos, and I will try to aim for ones which, you know, not everybody has done 50 times reviews of. Didn't find so many of Christmas Spice, but you know, Corncob Button Nose, for example, there's, or Golden Days of Yore, there's you know, lots and lots of very good reviews on those. And I've got those, by the way, up here. This is where I've sort of in a corner of this shed I have special permission from my wife to put my things here, and there you see, you know, a few of familiar faces. There's some Christmas cheer. I've got 1 or 2 more to bring down next time. There's good old John Aylesbury winter tobacco. I have great trouble to aim the camera at things without putting my thumb over the lens, but so it's nice and comfy, and it's actually better insulated than my shed at our proper house there in south, just south of Basel, Switzerland. So the temperatures here, actually, it has got pretty cold in the last few days, and gets sub-zero, and insulated as it is, and a little heat is thrown out by the back of the fridge, of course, it still gets pretty chilly. And I was going to share some Polybomb eggnog with you to open the season. Actually, I've had a little tipple already, but as you see, it is frozen into a custard at the moment. Well, it's started to thaw out a little bit. Maybe later I can take a glass of this. But as I was a bit thirsty, I've decided to have a beer. They're actually getting better at doing pale ales and things like that in Swiss breweries, so choice of beer is getting slightly better. So I'm smoking this Sutliff Christmas Spice in a Peterson 2019 Christmas pipe with a I think it's a silver band here, but it did have a brown stem, and I wrote to Peterson main office and said, can you give me a white stem? And it did cost me almost as much as the bloody pipe, you know, but anyway, it's I think it looks better with a white stem. Anyway, it's supposed to look like a Christmas pudding, you know, which it does a bit. And this looks like the white sauce, so I thought that fit better. 9mm with an army mount, you know, not been going that long, and it's usually with a band and this army mount you can take them apart without too much risk, even if they're still warm. And I'm actually trying to manage moisture at the moment, so I've got one of these Super Mix White Elephant filters which has charcoal and meerschaum in it, because that's the issue with Sutliff Christmas Spice. So it's Burley Virginia Cavendish as usual, with caramel, vanilla and a bit of cinnamon. There's just one problem which some of the Sutliff tobaccos have, is that they're goopy, of course, and they're too wet, you know, so you know, you can accept that because you can preserve and store wet tobaccos better. They don't dry out, they don't lose their flavors. It saves Sutliff money because they don't have to use energy and time to dry them. So there are all kinds of reasons where, yeah, okay, but basically the drying time has been put onto the customer. Now that's still okay if it's like quarter of an hour or half an hour to dry, but they probably put polyethylene glycol in there as a humectant to sort of bind the moisture to it. Again, you can argue about that for stability and things like that, but it means it's really difficult to dry these tobaccos. So I tried it for an hour or 2 hours and forget it, and also doing it in the shed when it's cold. You have to have optimal drying conditions. In other words, you need to go to a warm, dry room in your house and open the lid like this and leave it for about 2 days. And I'm not kidding. That's what I've been doing, and slowly it is drying out, and I mean slowly. So, you know, it's really hanging on to its moisture. Depending where you are or whatever, it might dry better than that. And it just needs to dry, you know. I've even at the moment, so this has been open and I've been sort of moving it around to try and get the wetter stuff down below to the top. Well, I suppose a day and a half I had that open, and it's still gurgly in the pipe. You know, it's a bit better. I'm sure I'm going the right way because the flavours are getting better. So the score is going from what was maybe 2-star to, if I get this drying right, I think probably by the second Advent, 5th of December, I think it might get to 3 stars because the flavours are good. You know, the vanilla is definitely there, a bit of caramel. I can't actually pick up really cinnamon, but once you get halfway down the bowl, there is a kind of spice. Now, there's no perique in it, but I almost would have guessed there's a tiny bit of perique in it or something like that, because there's a kind of very low level background spicy thing coming through, but that's when you've got half the bowl smoked, so the rest of the stuff is dried, you know. So it's one of those tobaccos that could be somewhere between good and very good if you're prepared to work at it. And because it's a bulk blend, it's very affordable. So, you know, it's one of those ones that's a bit in the middle. But let's face it, once you finally have really dried this, leave it open for a bloody week if you need to, and close the lid, that's it. You know, the lid will keep it at that moisture level, and you only have to do it once in principle. You won't have to dry it again. So once you've got that moisture level right, I just wish Sutliff would sometimes not sort of, you know, almost drown the blend, because it's less comes off of your fingers when it's dry. When it's really wet, it's goopy, and this is a lot of people don't like Sutliff blends because of that. They're not all like that, but this is one of them, you know. But the flavours are pleasant. It doesn't bite, even with all the steam and moisture. I've had maybe 4 bowls of it now in too wet condition, so you know, I'll only judge it on when I think the moisture level is really right. But it didn't bite me or anything like that. It gurgles a bit, but this is a straight billiard, isn't it? So that shouldn't really happen from the dimensions of the pipe. You know, if it was a bent or something like that, sometimes you get the design of the pipe doesn't help you with gurgling, but here it is a bit. So I've used the breathing method to sort of occasionally blow the heat and the moisture out of the bowl gently, and that sort of helps to manage it. So you can hear that irritating moisture, and of course it's a little hard to light and hard to keep lit for the first half bowl because of this bloody moisture. So it's one of those ones that you've probably, if I put it on a baking tray and, you know, dried it that way, but I'm just lazy, you know, so I'll just leave this out for a day or two with the lid off in the apartment, and it's all going the right way. I think when you get it right, it will be one of those, not quite very good, but not far from that, somewhere between good and very good. But you could argue what's Christmassy about it, because it's only the touch of cinnamon that actually differentiates it. That's a fair argument. It's not in the flavour. If you think vanilla and caramel and a touch of cinnamon that you can hardly pick up, you know. So it's not one I would probably order more of. let's put it that way. So I've decided to pick another one for the second Advent. I've just decided that right now, and make this in-between one on Sutliff Christmas Spice. I'm using my little Christmas pipe stand here, which is a duplicate of the one I have in the other place, just to make sure I have a Christmas stand at both places for this time of year. You may be wondering about this. It goes back a long time, actually. It's very good. I used to work in Russia at one point. This is the Order of Lenin. See that? That is one of the highest awards you can get. But no, I was not working for the KGB at the time. It's a souvenir, you know. Actually, it's made in Finland. It's Fredriksson, and it's made in Finland. And I'll tell you what, the quality of this is so yeah, it's genuine, of course, fur, and it keeps your head incredibly warm. There's nothing, no cap or hat I've got that comes close to this. I always get funny looks because I've got a sort of military coat and I put that on with this, and people think, you know, the Russians must have invaded and they've just come into the restaurant to have a drink or something, you know. But it's top notch. Well, I got that on in Moscow, not far from Red Square. But that's another story. Decided I must store this probably in the house because the thaw time is quite long. That has thawed out a bit and it would pour out. It's excellent eggnog, I tell you. Well, this was just an in-between really while I'm down in the other place, and end of week I'll be back at the main house, and as I said, latest 5th of December, come up with a choice for an easily available American Christmas tobacco that you might not have seen all over the place in reviews. So I'll cut it there, and look forward to seeing you then, and you all take care, look after yourselves. We are in dynamic times regarding our health. So see you later, alligator. Take care. Bye bye. A quick postscript to my video. So I decided to dry it out properly, put the Sutliff Christmas Spice on aluminium foil and left it overnight, nicely spread out like this. And that did, to touch, really do a lot of drying. So there's no shortcut, is what I've learned. And I had a bowl this morning, and just having a bowl now in the afternoon, and it's much better, easier to light, and immediate flavours are become clear, and this is the way to enjoy it, to basically dry it to that point where, you know, so it's actually at this point not gloopy anymore, it's more like a normal tobacco, but I can still sense a little bit of moisture, but just the normal good amount of moisture it should have, and it makes a huge difference. I still, at the moment, after 2 bowls of this perfect dryness Christmas Spice, I wouldn't give it more than 3 stars. It's good, it's pleasant. I get the bit caramel and bit vanilla, not really anything cinnamony, apart from halfway down the bowl. There's a kind of touch of spiciness, but I think that might be just coming from the Virginia. So I've still decided to pass this one over for one of my Advent tobaccos, so it didn't make the cut. You know, I think once you know how to dry it, it's perfectly good to buy it. You could even get that dryness right. It could be an all-day smoke with light vanilla and caramel, but you know, something that's not that special really, and certainly not for a Christmas tobacco, I thought. So that's the end point with Sutliff Christmas Spice.